Hi class, Chelsea Fisher here for another species report. This week's question about our cars and our dream cars. So I actually have a Toyota RAV4 now to lease. It's a pretty solid car. It's a good car. I will hopefully have my dream car fairly soon. I'm not much of a luxury car person or a speed demon by any means, but I do love Jeep Wranglers. So hoping that I can actually purchase one of those once my lease is up and have a nice soft top Jeep Wrangler. So for this week's species report around the mangroves and swamps, I was actually really excited for this particular report, and mostly because being born and raised in Florida, especially here in Southwest Florida, um, the marine life has been a huge part of my childhood and even, my early adulthood. And my dad being a more predominant boat dealer in this area, I've been fishing since I was 2 or 3. So I've caught a lot of tarpon in my life. I've seen tarpon all throughout my life. And I actually go to the Keys pretty often. And we always stop at a place called Robbie's. And for those of you who are not familiar and definitely ever make a point to stop if you drive down there, is basically just this little shack that's right near Isla Mirada where you can actually hand feed tarpon. And there's hundreds of them and they're massive. And I've done the whole, if you Google the pictures, I've caught the one all the way up to my elbow when trying to feed them. So it's super cool. But anyway, I mean, tarpons are just really interesting to me and they've always been a really cool fish. So it was really neat to be able to do this report and actually learn some new things about them. So we'll go ahead and kick into it. For those of you who are not native Floridians, tarpon are one of the more popular game fish down here, and mostly because of their size and their stamina. So not only do they get to be over 8 feet long, they can weigh over 350 pounds, but they also put up a really big fight when you do try to reel them in. So they are fairly difficult to catch once you do actually get them on the hook. Tarpons can be found throughout the Atlantic Ocean, but they are more frequently found in coastal waters, bays, estuaries, and especially mangrove-lined lagoons. Where we go paddleboarding out in Sanibel, we actually see a pretty hefty amount of tarpon when we go out there, and they're always in the mangroves, so that's always cool to see as well. They typically will reproduce seasonally and migrate offshore to do so, and then they'll develop in 3 distinct stages from where the larva will migrate offshore to the intercoastal waterways. Typically, they'll feed on zooplankton, insects, and fish throughout their life. They'll also feed on shrimp and crustaceans, but typically their main predators are large sharks like bull sharks or hammerhead sharks, but they can also be eaten by alligators and dolphins as well. They're important to the ecosystem, mostly because, they help balance certain populations of those shrimp and fish and crustaceans, but they also serve as a food source for those larger predators. But more interestingly enough, they actually serve a pretty good economic purpose as well, especially for this area of Florida. We do mandate them under a catch and release type of law necessarily, and if you do want to keep the fish as a trophy fish, you actually have to purchase a permit in order to do so. Otherwise, if you're caught with it, it's actually illegal to have a tarpon without a permit. So like I said, they're pretty large. They can weigh over 350 pounds, which for most fish is pretty shocking. A really notable feature of the tarpon is their jaw. So it's very large and protruding. So it almost kind of looks like they're grumpy, but it's actually packed with very small teeth that actually line their jaws, their tongue, and their skull base. So it helps them to crush some of their prey, but it doesn't really hurt typically for humans. I mentioned earlier that I've had them, come up all the way to my elbow, and it's really just scratches that they'll leave. So they're not very sharp teeth. Another interesting fact that I did not realize about tarpon is they can actually go to the surface and gulp oxygen if they are in a oxygen deprivated environment. So they're very adaptable to certain areas that they can live, and if the oxygen is rather low in the water, they will get it from the surface, which I thought was really cool. In terms of where they're located, like I said, they're located all throughout the Atlantic Ocean, but they've also been found in cooler climates as well, such as Nova Scotia. So they are able to adapt to different other temperature, temperate waters. Um, some other interesting facts, because I'm trying not to ramble here. So one that I thought was really interesting is fossil research actually shows that tarpon have been swimming in our ocean since prehistoric times. So they're basically dinosaurs, which I thought was super cool. In terms of anglers, tarpon is actually named the Silver King because of its majestic size and color. So typically, if you've ever caught a tarpon, you'll see that light reflecting off of its silver body. It's very light and shiny. So they've been called the Silver King because of that. They are, like I said, they can only be recreationally fished in Florida and fall under those catch and release programs. So if you are caught with one, you can get in big trouble. Another thing that I've personally experienced, which is also kind of a fun fact, is sometimes sharks will actually take advantage of the fact that the tarpon has been caught and is on the hook and being reeled in. I've actually reeled in a tarpon that's been bit in half before because sharks will actually eat it while you have it on the line. So that's happened a few times before as well. Well, I appreciate y'all taking the time to listen, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks.